G'day, welcome to another episode of SidekickTV. Again, we've got a familiar face. We've got Sam Wilkinson from Oryx Finance with us today. The reason that we're doing this video is this came from a chat that we were having the other week, isn't it?
That's right.
We were talking about what business are you truly in. It's very easy when we run businesses to think that we do a certain thing, but ultimately we, what does our client value? So it's a bit of a broad context, but with Sam's experience in both, finance from a banking perspective, even vehicle sales, which is something that we both share from a number of years ago.
Thanks for bringing that up.
With the ANZ Bank and with Oryx as well, obviously, this is something that we see really regularly. So, Sam, I suppose one of the first questions I'd ask you would be, where do you see it that perhaps people are looking in the wrong place for, what business they're truly in?
Yeah, good question, Rick. And again, thanks for having me. I'm glad that we're not one and done.
Yeah.
So second time round, so thank you for that. Look, I think it's really easy in business to fall into the trap of trying to do too many things. And trying to diversify really quickly and grow really quickly, and that comes with some pain. And I think where businesses can add value to themselves really is to be really ruthless about pulling the levers in their business that might be smaller but are going to make an impact on their core business.
Yeah.
That kind of sounds fluffy, right?
Yeah.
But focusing on what is my core business and what are the things I can do to actually impact that core business.
Yeah, I see it quite a lot actually, where we've got people in, let's call it manufacturing, basic manufacturing, and all of a sudden, they've been using a supplier for this kind of service here, that's stopped, or they've got frustrated and they've then taken on doing that themselves. So it's engineers will do this a lot, going, oh, I can make that bolt.
Yeah, right.
Cool. Make that bolt, maybe, but actually your core business is over here selling these widgets. Yeah. You can already buy that bolt.
That's right, yeah. And what's a good use of your time as a business owner or director or whatever it might be?
Yeah.
And is it taking a diversion away from your core business to try and fix a problem and make that problem your problem? Or is it bringing in a party who can do that better, a different supplier or whoever it might be, to help make things easy for you to focus on what your core business is. Yeah.
You were saying as well that you're seeing this a lot around, from a finance perspective, people that are wanting to buy heavy plant and equipment. Great, let's say you sell diggers or lorries. Right. Sorry, you say trucks here. I've not. Yeah, trucks.
We can call them lorries if you want.
Yeah. And you talk about other options like, well, why don't you lease it?
That's right.
And you were saying that that's just an alien concept to people.
It really depends on the structure of the business, right? There's let's say you're a transport company. If there's a board set up, then quite often those businesses will look at options around finance or leasing and making it a operating expense.
Yep.
So that means that the vehicle itself isn't something that they outlay a massive amount of capital for, because they understand that they can use that capital elsewhere in their business to get a better return on investment than purchasing a depreciating asset. So you sort of see that quite a bit. Then with some of the smaller businesses, we have a real cultural thing in New Zealand around, well, I have to own it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
look at the debate right now around housing.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't live in a house without owning it. Well, you actually can. Most really wealthy property investors don't own the house that they live in.
Right. Okay.
Right. So
exactly, and it's a similar principle, I guess. It's like, well, is your core business owning a depreciating asset? Especially as that asset starts to age and the repair and maintenance becomes quite an issue. Or is your core business, being for a transport company, for example, is that getting goods from A to B and then B back to A with great service and in a timely manner?
Yeah.
And therefore making a margin on the transport of those goods. And if that is the case, then how does having a depreciating asset, especially as it ages, fit into the overall picture of the productivity or the margin that you're making on that business? So,
yeah. And that's it. It's very easy to think we're in the business of owning and running trucks.
Yeah.
What does your client pay for? Your client pays for you running a truck essentially to move some goods.
That's right.
But it's like the
your client's paying to have what they need show up on time.
Yeah.
And to have good wraparound service around it. And that will continue the ongoing repeat business.
Yeah, that then makes me think as well, and it was another example that we were talking about with this, is what then does disruption look like in your business? So we've spoken about it from, say, owning, using assets. Then we might start thinking about what that asset class might actually be. Right. It's the New Zealand Post scenario for me, which is, I believe New Zealand Post thought their business was moving parcels and letters around the country. Then Telecom, as it was, created extra email domains, and email was launched around New Zealand, and all of a sudden, big businesses and others, consumers were sending emails, not letters. Now, it wasn't that someone came and started doing NZ Post's job by delivering more letters. No. It was that letters kind of stopped, because what was actually wanted was the data. Okay, so your power company wants to send you a bill. All of a sudden, email is a far better way of doing it, not a van with letters, with a man delivering it. Yes. Okay, so are we going to see, I think we're going to see that in a lot of tech-driven industries, but are you seeing it in any other industries, plant and equipment-wise, or...?
Yeah, that's another good question, Rick. It's really interesting. About a month or so ago, I was on a conference call with the Road Transport Forum in New Zealand, and Cameron Baggery, the economist, was, the headline on that call. He's quite well known in the media for his commentary around the economy in general in New Zealand. And he was talking about the pace of change. Well, one of the things he was talking about was the pace of change, and how, due to COVID and other market factors, all businesses really need to be thinking about pace of change as exponential, whereas in the past it could have been seen as more linear and predictable change. Whereas at the moment, it's like, 2020's been a pretty full-on year. We don't know what 2021's going to look like. However, we do know that there will be change, and we do know, because of increasing tech, that change will be rapid, right? Yeah. So what are the decisions I can make now that might seem risky now, but are going to make a big impact on my business in future years? Because, in fact, the bigger risk might actually be doing what we've always done. Yeah. And therefore getting overtaken by competition and the like. So I think across business segments, whether it be transport, engineering, wherever, they will be impacted in a way by technology and changing work patterns, like for example working at home, and that change will be exponential in its speed. If businesses don't adapt quickly, then, or try and see where could we be in 12 months, 24 months, and how can we make decisions now to help us get there, then that's when might see drop in productivity and being overtaken by the competition. Yeah, you've touched on two things there that always resonate with me. The first was the Einstein's quote, which was the definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Look, I actually think that's not going to be the case soon. I think if you do the same thing over and over and over again, you are going to get different results, but they're going to be diminishing results. Right. Yeah. Right? I think that change is going to be thrust upon us at such a rate that we just have to embrace it or get wiped out. Darwin's theory then, really. Yeah. But the other thing you say is there too about changing working habits. Okay, so working from home. We're on Victoria Street here, and you look around. Ignore the other accountant's logo in the background, okay? But there's there are a number of empty buildings around us here. Now,
this working from home mentality, that is not going to help any of these. Also, you look at a lot of businesses that might be growing, they're doing really, really well, and they're going, oh, we're going to outgrow these premises pretty soon. Common concern for a lot of businesses we work with. Now, well, actually, you might not. Is it Vodafone that if all of their team tried to go to the office one day, they'd be like 30% understocked for desks? So actually, can we be nimble? Can we look to reduce costs here? It's that whole thing again of being so aware of your finances, going, what is a necessary expense? Do I need to go and spend $2,000 a workstation, plus your screens, plus this, plus the actual space of probably $300 a square metre to have it, right?
That's right.
A year? Or do we go into flexible working situations? Do we go into having more people working away? I just think really it comes back to that holding on to your cash for the most part, and looking at what your business needs to survive and what people value. So,
of course, that's another thing that was actually mentioned on that conference call by Cameron Bagri, is that a lot of people holding on to their cash at the moment is their form of risk mitigation. As opposed to going out and spending it per se. They're just sort of seeing what happens. With the hopefully a resolution to COVID coming up next year, at least in the short term. But I think we're going to see, with this vaccine news, that things start to free up a little as people start to plan. Because if you're not planning now for what the future looks like in your business, then you should be. And you're chatting to Rick and his team about what it might look like.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage that anyway. So but I would agree. Okay, so we've got big trends there, haven't we? That people are holding on to cash. Again, when we've got grave health concerns in our communities, right? Whether they're a real risk that you're going to suffer from or not, you might think, well, it's not going to affect me. I'm not 75. Well, actually, that might be one person's view, but someone in your team that's got a 75-year-old parent living at home, they've got a completely different lookout on this. So I think about it for us as an accountancy firm. Is our business having 25 people in there supporting clients? No.
Are they going to see this video?
Oh no, I want them all to still stay around, and there aren't 25 yet. But it's actually it's probably 15 people in there, 10 people out and about seeing clients, being interesting, having meetings, learning their business. Do you need a permanent fixed desk for everyone? Well, right now we kind of do, because it's the norm. But actually, it would be a sensible evolution to think not. And this was something that we've been considering here, was around, we're pretty much full now. We've got 3 people joining us in January. We're full, what next?
Yeah, sure.
I haven't asked myself these questions yet of going, do we just be more nimble? Desk chair. Yeah.
And I guess to add a layer onto the question you asked me before about change, and are we going to see much, especially in a lot of the businesses that I deal with around the transport industry. We see huge changes in technology coming through with trucks and what they actually provide in terms of health and safety to businesses and comfort to the drivers, and risk mitigation. So I think that there is huge change in that industry. Like there's some of the latest models and manufacturers that are coming out might have 20 or 30 computers in that vehicle to help the vehicle be more efficient, safe, provide better comfort to the driver, and then oversight to the business on what's happening with that vehicle. And then you've got the emissions side of things, which obviously with Euro standards impacting the industry as well, with manufacturers being forced to, and rightly so, be as efficient as possible with the vehicles that are coming through. So what you end up seeing is that even in an industry like trucking, the speed to obsolescence of the product itself is rapidly increasing. So if you go and buy something now that might cost you, $400,000, what's that going to look like in 5 years? What's it actually going to be worth?
Yeah.
Is that a good use of all that capital that you're going to spend up front?
Yeah.
Whereas if that's not actually my core business, could I get better return on investment from using that 400k in other ways?
Yeah.
And leasing this vehicle. And I can include my repairs and maintenance and fleet management and everything within that monthly package, and then 5 years down the track I can go, oh, actually this new model that's coming through has better technology, better emissions, it's better for my company, for my staff, for all of these reasons, and we're just going to slide into this one, or we have the option to purchase the one that we've had, but actually the newer one probably makes a lot of sense for our business.
Yeah.
Because you see, with vehicles spending time off the road as they get older, that's a massive cost to the businesses that I deal with. So
yeah, we see that. I mean, one of the most struggling businesses we ever worked with in that space, it was struggling because it had old kit.
Yeah,
inefficient, expensive, would break.
Yeah.
When it breaks, it's not making money. So, and this was a business that was, out and out, we own trucks and run them. Well,
yeah.
Your clients pay for you to move stuff, and they don't care how that happens, So, so leasing like that, and like you say with these vehicles, it's, not to just promote leasing, but it's about promoting a different way of thinking about how your business operates. Coming back to what does your client really want, and then what does your business really do? And I think a lot of people don't want to say, well, we own a lot of heavily polluting, unsafe vehicles to move things around.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's not a great stigma.
No. Okay, and so look, I mean, hopefully this has been useful for yourselves. I want every business to really think about this. Think of it in your customers' eyes, and especially when we go into the Christmas break, next week. What does your customer actually pay for, and does that actually match with what you pay for in your business?
Good way to put it.
Who likes turning up to the accountant and going, oh yeah, we pay for all this lease? No one, right? You drive past the logistics business and at the weekend and you go, oh, all those trucks look beautiful, all lined up like that. But my head ticks over and goes, there's $10 million worth of trucks there.
Yeah.
That must be expensive to use or what have you. So, really, I think just consider now truly what does your client pay for in your business, and really wrap your business around that. So.
It could well be worth spending a bit of money with your accountant, hopefully Rick and the team, and say, hey, look, I'm going to spend X amount here, but help me save over the next financial year, help me save more.
Yeah.
I've always found that from feedback from businesses that I deal with, that a decent plan with your accountant and a bit of money spent with your accountant is a good return on investment, because then they can look into things and help you be proactive instead of reactive, and really make the most of those little levers within your business that are going to make an impact on your own bottom line. So that would be definitely
cool.
A recommendation that I would make.
Awesome, thanks. Cheers, Sam.
You're welcome.
Cool. Thank you everyone for watching. All the best. Have a great Christmas and New Year.